Hey guys and girls, Rajat here. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about text editors. Now, if you have been keeping a close watch on this channel, I have never talked about text editors in a long. And you might have wondered to yourself what kind of a software developer or a coder never talks about such issues. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you about three major text editors which you should really try and experience in order to actually code really well in 2019 and beyond. So technically most of the channels do talk about 5 text editors in general because these text editors are more or less kind of same, but I'm gonna chisel 2 out of these 5 text editors out because I think that most of the features are kind of same in all of these editors. So let's start with the text editor which is more like an OG or the original gangsters of modern day text editor, and that is the Sublime text editor. Now Sublime text editor is a text editor which has taken the world of text editors on storm. How? Because it has introduced modern day text editing and features like command palette where you can press some buttons and you can access the entire functionality an editor has to offer, and you can do several sort of modifications to the UI and to your workflow. And Sublime text is the, you can say, the first mover or the purveyor of all such modifications or enhancements to the text editors. So if you are someone who is very comfortable with writing Python code, you can also do some modifications to your Sublime text editor and you can generate your own plugins and you can also share those plugins with others. But the reason I have not selected Sublime text editor in my top 3 suggestions is that first of all it is a paid option, and again most of the things that have been offered by Sublime text editor are now being offered by other more prominent options, so there is literally no reason to try out the free version or the evaluation copy of a text editor like Sublime Text when you can get all of those features for free and you certainly do not have to feel bad about using the evaluation copy. The other text editor which I would like to quickly mention is Bracket. Bracket is the text editor which I tried for 2 or 3 days. I certainly did like that it was totally free and it had something or you can say almost everything that Sublime Text 2 was offering at that time and at no cost, but somewhere the overall experience felt janky and the community engagement was not at par with the kind of engagement Sublime Text was getting at that time. So I just did not care much about that text editor, and neither you should, but it is a competent text editor you can try, but you certainly do not have any reason to try that out. This is my personal opinion. Your opinion can vary, but if you are someone who has not tried Brackets as of now, there is absolutely no reason to devote some time in trying that out. That is just my personal opinion. Now let's talk about the top 3 text editors for 2019 and beyond. If you are a web developer or a competitive programmer or you do text editing in general. So my first pick on this list is Atom text editor. Now Atom text editor is coming from the house of GitHub. So you can say that major companies backing that text editor, so it has got every embellishment, every bells and whistles Sublime Text and other text editors have got. Also there is this thing Atom Package Manager which is just like an icing on the cake, and you can install various packages effortlessly to your Atom text editor with ease. I have used Atom text editor for like last 2 to 3 years and I have really enjoyed the entire ride. There was absolutely no single reason, or you can say no valid reason for me to switch to another text editor, but it is unfortunate that I have submitted to the peer pressure of the industry and now I am using Visual Studio Code, and which happens to be the second position on our text editors for 2019 and beyond. So Visual Studio Code is coming from the house of Microsoft. It similarly has got all sorts of embellishment you can expect from a modern day text editor. So you have got editing functionality, you have got workbench, and there are integrations with container systems, npm, and things like that. So Visual Studio Code is something really great Microsoft has delivered in recent years, and which is actually targeted towards developers, and this shows that Microsoft actually cares about developers now. I do not really know how serious they are about developers, but if you have a look at Visual Studio Code, it is really a great product. And personally, if I have to suggest one option, it is going to be Atom, but Visual Studio Code is on the spot number 2, because the community engagement with Visual Studio Code is far superior than Atoms. So if you head over to Medium, if you head over to other sites, you will easily find tutorials about how to do every single thing in Visual Studio Code, how to use every single plugin in Visual Studio Code, how to use containers in Visual Studio Code. So from the knowledge base part, I think that Visual Studio Code has got the back of developers better than Atom. That is the reason I have ranked Atom at number 3 spot and Visual Studio Code at number 2 spot. Now coming to the number 1 spot. Now this can be a pretty opinionated option, but I think Vim is my number 1 text editor for 2019 and beyond, because we have seen that competitive programming has been getting quite a lot of traction, and when it comes to quickly editing the program and quickly navigating to the various parts of the source code, there is no match to Vim's speed. If you can really memorize the shortcuts, nobody can beat an editor who is using Vim. Hands down, Vim has got the bestest speed possible when it comes to text editing. So it only comes down to memorizing all those shortcuts Vim has to offer, and once you have those shortcuts down, you can absolutely breeze through all parts of your source code. Then you can switch back and forth between your source code, your source files, and your command prompt. So if you are writing some programs for competitive programming, and we know by the virtue of it, in competitive programming you are required to run or test run your programs time and again so as to validate every single test case, and in such scenarios Vim offers a really great advantage to the programmers or the developers or the competitive programmers out there, because they can quickly switch between the terminal and the source code, and they can also use pagination and tabs from the inside of Vim text editor, and that is something that blew my mind when I first saw that. And there are certain other functionalities, like you can split the command window into multiple parts using commands like vsplit and split, which comes really built into the Vim text editor, so you do not really have to play around with mouse. So you can get the total control of your entire editing environment with just a keyboard. So if you can memorize those shortcuts, it will take some time, it has a steeper learning curve, and you can always be a learner when it comes to Vim. But once you have those things or those basics down, there is absolutely nothing that can stop you from being a code editing ninja, and that is why Vim is on the number 1 spot on this list. So if you are a competitive programmer, you should use Vim. If you are a web developer, you should try one of Visual Studio Code or Atom. But if you are a web developer, again, I would like to reiterate that Visual Studio Code has better community engagement, has better knowledge base, has better resources out there for you to get up to speeds with how to do every single thing in Visual Studio Code. So that is it, guys. That was everything I wanted to talk about text editors, and I hope that I was able to address some of your queries regarding which text editor you should try out next, or which editor you should delve into as your first text editor. So if you have any more doubts, if you think that there is certain other text editor which I might have missed or which I really should have a look at, please leave a comment with the name of that text editor, and I will surely try to address your queries, or I will surely try the text editor out, and maybe I'll come up with a new video and your text editor might win the #1 spot and dethrone Vim. Until that happens, Vim is going to be at the #1 spot for me, and I'll see you in the next video where I'm going to talk about some other interesting topic related to software development and all. And I'll see you guys over the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.